Let's go over the news for the Auspex Tactics channel this month, talking giveaways, collaborations, sponsored videos and more, but perhaps most importantly, a shiny new intro sequence for the channel. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where that's likely to be the intro sequence going forward. Definitely a big step up on the previous, and a massive thank you to the folks who made that possible at the Let's Make It 40k YouTube channel, which we'll talk about properly later in the video. As per usual with these channel updates though, we'll talk about videos on the channel over the past month and the ones that are coming up. The winners of the big Imperial Guard giveaway with the new Cadia stands boxes and the one for next month, and a quick chat about one of my armies appearing on somebody else's YouTube channel for a change, the Mordian Glory Guard vs Knights showdown, and then a chat about the folks who made the intro happen at Let's Make It 40k. Videos first then, and the last month, as ever, has been a busy one. Perhaps the biggest news from Games Workshop's point of view are the Guard Codex launch and the Christmas Battle Forces. Both of those have been interesting enough to discuss in quite a few videos. In particular, the Guard Codex review was a bit of a mammoth project, falling as ever on a weekend that I was super busy. I'll admit that not a lot of sleep was had trying to get the main Codex review out. Overall, I definitely feel like there's some winners and losers in the Codex, but I feel like the Guard have got a decent power boost out of it. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when Games Workshop finally updates the balanced data slate and the Guards start hitting the big tournaments in earnest. I have a feeling that we'll be seeing some Guard Grand Tournament wins, something that hasn't really happened for most of 9th edition. The Christmas Battle Forces are always big news as well. Fun to get a whole load of big discounts for some armies, again better for some than others. Custodians and Knights perhaps doing best out of this latest set. And otherwise, besides the usual tacticsy type stuff, there's really quite a few leaks been going on. Things like the World Eaters, Angron, and now some Space Marine leaks over the last 24 hours or so. Hopefully we'll continue to get a few more juicy details and previews coming out. I guess Games Workshop might be starting to share some World Eaters things officially in the future. Definitely looking forward to seeing those rumours confirmed or refuted, and reviewing Codex World Eaters when we have chance. I'm sure a few people caught that 3D printing video I made earlier in the month as well. That one, I guess, is the first ever properly sponsored video that I've done on the channel. Not something I've ever really done previously in the past. I guess I do have the Element Games affiliate link, but that feels a bit different really, as it's just genuinely a bit cheaper than Games Workshop things in the UK. No real onus to create a whole video on the subject. The way that worked was that they basically offered to send me a 3D printer and then I'd make a video on the subject. Seems pretty nice for Elegoo, to be honest. And to be fair, I probably should have covered 3D printing just a little bit more in depth on the channel up to now. Obviously I'm no expert, but perhaps can still help some people who haven't used it before just get the gist at least. I'm certainly not going to be doing sponsored things with any sort of regularity. I feel like the vast majority of things that get sent my way just really don't fit with the channel in any way, shape or form, but it was nice to do as a bit of an experiment. Otherwise, there's plenty more video-wise planned for the channel. I'll be aiming to keep the Guard videos coming with a bunch more unit reviews and a few more Codex overview type things. Still need to talk about Lehman Russes and infantry squads in a bit more detail, plus maybe a comparison of artillery, and otherwise things that are in the pipeline and should be out in the near future. There's one video on potential good supplement rule sets to come out for 40k, some factions that maybe need a little bit more exploring perhaps. A tier ranking of the strength of the various different Chaos Legions in a similar sort of style as we did with Space Marine chapters a while back. The next one in the Strengths and Weaknesses series should be the Tyranids. Those ones are really quite big projects, but I've got quite a lot of that together. And before the year's out, I'm hoping to do a counterpart to the 10 strongest armies in 40k and look at the 10 weakest. And the yearly update of the which army to choose in 40k video. There's been rather a lot of developments over the past 12 months, including the Leagues of Votan added to the game, so I thought that was high time for a do-over. In terms of Games Workshop news, I guess World Eaters and Arcs of Omen are the next big 40k news things on the horizon. I'm sure we'll get some sort of Christmas reveal as well. Again, I'll probably try and get away for a quick video on the day to do that, if it's something that's worth interrupting the festivities for. As always, if there's anything that you'd particularly like to see on the channel or you think would work well, feel free to let me know down in the comments for any videos that you'd particularly like. Moving on, let's talk giveaways. I can now reveal that the winners of the Cadia Stands box set are these four: Zachary Ferguson, Matthew Davis, Theodore Lungsgaard, and Andrew Wright. If you chaps are watching this, then feel free to check your messages and we'll arrange for the boxes to be posted out. Should be dispatched later in the week. Supposedly my order of them is going to be turning up on Tuesday, hopefully, so I'll likely have them in the post either Wednesday or Thursday. I thought for the next giveaway we'd stick with the new big Games Workshop boxes. Seeing as people voted the Adeptus Custodes as the favourite of the 4 Christmas box sets, I thought the January giveaway could be 4 of those. I must admit, at least by Games Workshop standards, you do get a very hefty chunk of an army on the board all in one go like this. This box set's the Custodes one from the Games Workshop Christmas Battle Force boxes. It's called the Watchers of the Gate, and in it you get Trajan Valoris, 3 Virtus Praetor jet bikes, 15 Custodian Guard that you can assemble some of them as characters, and 3 Alaris Custodians, giving you around about 1400 points of models or so. Definitely not a bad way to get into the Golden Boys if you should so wish. There's 2 equal ways to enter, which I'll link down in the video description. Either you can support the channel on Patreon for any amount. It is what allows me to keep on making videos on the channel quite so often, and that gets you automatic entry each and every month. Or you can support the channel on social media. That's completely for free. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the Facebook page, and then you enter the draw on the 1st of January. A giveaway entry post appears on the Facebook page at around about midnight UK time. I guess that'll be at the turning of the new year this time. I'll have it scheduled for then. And then within the next 24 hours, reply to the comment with a photo of any 40k mini or imagery alongside your name and the date handwritten within the photo. The last bit's just to deter Facebook bots and spammers. Then after that, I put all the Patreons and the Facebook replies into a random number generator, pick out the 4 winners, and I'll announce the winners on the channel update post, the same one as this one, usually aimed for the 4th of the month, so the 4th of January. I will keep these coming with new giveaways each month, so check out the links in the video description if you'd be interested in entering in either way. Next up, I did mention it briefly in a channel post, and I'm sure a few of you have seen it from Mordian Glory's channel directly, but I did take a fairly competitive Knights list to duke it out with some Guard over on Mordian Glory's channel. I must say I don't usually have a lot of free time for collabs and things. I generally put all the effort into making more videos, but this was really good fun. Perhaps mostly so for getting to see a good Guard list in action, even if it was chewing up my own army in doing so. I must admit it is kind of cool being a guest on a channel that I always used to watch a fair bit of before I even started this whole YouTube thing. And Mordian Glory is every bit as fun and relaxed to play in the game as you'd imagine. Thoroughly great guy all round. What he's done is basically an after-action style video report. I'll leave a link to it down in the video description, though not to beat around the bush too much, the Knights did get smashed really quite hard, only left by one Armiger alive on the board at the end of turn 4. I think New Guard in particular do pretty much excel at hoovering Knights off the table. One big guy goes down turn 1 with nowhere to hide, perhaps a little bit less damage on turn 2, mainly killing the tougher Armigers, but then the turn 3 firepower was massively impressive, gunning down 2 big Knights in one fell swoop. I will admit I did go into the game fully expecting that it would probably be a loss. Even against the old Codex, Guard was actually a fairly hard matchup for Knights as it went. In tournament games, the two have around about a 50-50 win percentage, despite Guard being at the bottom of the meta and Knights being fairly competitive. With a huge boost to the Guard, that's only going to get worse. To be fair, I think that's maybe more of a Knight thing than a Guard thing, really. There's just some armies that they don't particularly like to play against in my experience, others being leagues of Votan, Demons and Tyranids at the moment. I feel like the new Guard's particular strengths against them are all the auto wounds that you can get with Born Soldiers. I did expect a fair bit of chip damage, but I was maybe almost most surprised by the Lasguns out of the list. Take aim giving them AP -1 and auto wounding on 6s did mean that they'd strim a whole load of wounds off Knights big and small. Obviously, it almost goes without saying that Mordian Glory is very good at putting Guard lists into action. I think he played it very, very well, hiding all the tanks behind the terrain so the Knights couldn't shoot them, only exposing a few expendable units turn 1. And then truly going in for the kill when there's only about half the Knights left on the board. I feel like against a well-played Guard army like that, Imperial Knights are going to have a very rough matchup. I don't think that with a list like mine that had a focus on 3 Titanic Knights, a Crusader, Paladin, and Errant in Tyrannus, I'm not sure in this mission I could have really done much to prevent the loss. I feel like going first maybe would have helped a little bit. I feel like the game would have gone on a little bit longer, but still almost certainly being a loss for the Knights. The army list has been doing very nicely into other matchups. Knights do feel particularly strong to me into armies like Necrons, Chaos Space Marines, and Custodes, and have been doing okay with them in a few RTTs and a team tournament. In any case, despite a fairly swift demolition of the Imperial Knights by the Guard, it was still a very fun game. Really nice just to have a chat and throw some dice around, and I'm definitely a fair bit more motivated to get out my Imperial Guard once more and experiment with a few competitive lists in earnest. Massive thank you as always to Mr. Mordian Glory for being such a gracious host. Thoroughly enjoyed the game. A few people were also asking for a link to the showcase video I did of the Imperial Knights, and I'll link that down in the video description. It's still fairly up to date, there's only been a few armigers added since then. Finally, last but not least, more thank yous are in order for the snazzy new intro from the channel Let's Make It 40k. Thanks for generously offering to help out the channel so much by sorting one of the things that I really should have got round to dealing with myself quite a long time ago. Thanks for dragging the channel into a bit of incremental improvement. Again, I must admit I do generally just focus on getting more videos produced rather than generally tending to upgrade the quality. Perhaps I should try and make a little bit more effort go with polishing things up a bit more. to make things better for the future. As always, if you think there's anything else that I could do better on the channel, feel free to let me know down in the comments for this video. Always a good place to let any feedback get heard. In any case, an absolutely massive thank you to Let's Make It 40k for reaching out like this. I did offer to pay him a bit for the graphic design, but he was just so generous and said all he wanted was a shout out for his channel, and for me to send over a few slides and audio to talk on his channel about some Imperial Fists sometime. So I guess I'll look forward to another little collab in the future over there. I'll link his channel in the video description, and I thoroughly recommend checking out a video or two. It's a fairly new painting and modelling channel with a rather interesting niche focusing on a lot of builds and things that aren't just miniatures within 40k. Things like custom dice trays, he made some faction specific ones that do look rather snazzy. I must admit I quite liked this Seraphim conversion as well. Really quite a cool, simple and effective one, used by some Age of Sigmar winged parts alongside the Seraphim kit. I'll link that one down below. We've chatted a fair bit over Messenger around the intro type things, sounds like it's got some really big plans going forward into the future, including branching into other areas of 40k. Who knows, maybe these first few videos are just the first steps in a new big channel for 40k, perhaps a household name of the future. In any case, an absolutely massive thank you to you, man. I look forward to talking Imperial Fists with you at some point later. In any case, I think we'll leave that there for the channel update. As always, a massive thank you to all of you guys who are watching, liking, subscribing and commenting. As always, looking forward to plenty more Warhammer 40k videos in the future. There'll be plenty to talk about over December, I'm sure. Feel free to check out the links in the video description for any of the things that we've talked about today, and I'll most certainly hope to see you guys next time.